Hey, this is Jeff Wick, editor of the Fayette County Record newspaper, joined as always by H.H. Howes. And joining us today is Reverend Andrew Stafford. We're here at Sts Cyril and Methodius Catholic Church in beautiful Dubina, Texas, one of the early Czech settlements in Texas, maybe one of the first, I think. Here we've got the first copy of the Fayette County, first hot off the presses, first copy of the Fayette County Record. I'm gonna present this to you, Reverend Stafford. Right. We're going to chat a little bit about the headlines, and then we're going to go inside and talk about this beautiful painted church, which will be the second installment in our four-part series of the painted churches of Fayette County. But before we talk about the church, Reverend Stafford will kind of talk a little bit about some of the headlines here in this edition of the Fayette County Record. Of course, Schulenburg High School held their homecoming festivities last week, and we just learned that Mr. Stafford, you're a native of Schulenburg, huh?
Yes, I am. Yes, I was born and raised here in 1944. I was born and graduated from J. Green High School in 1961, and I left not looking back. I never thought I'd want to move back to Schulenburg again. Yes.
I can understand.
Well, the Shorthorns had a big win, big football win you can read about in today's paper. Schulenburg and Flatonia were playing each other Friday. They were both undefeated, and Schulenburg came out on top. Other big stories in the paper today. St. Mark's Medical Center in LaGrange, behind the scenes, they've been working on a sale that really would have stabilized the financial future of the hospital. Sales talks kind of broke down last week, and so the hospital is back on the market, and it's been kind of thrown into a bit of uncertainty as far as their financial future goes, and you can read all about that in today's paper. Pancho, you want to talk about the quilt block trail that you've got a little feature on?
Some ladies came by from Winchester, Rhoda Gersh and Margaret Atkins, and they have established a quilt block trail. The blocks are like 4x4 plywood squares with a quilt pattern on them, and they've put them in barns and fences and places around Winchester, so you can drive along and see those. And that's an idea they'd like to see spread around the county. And I think some people in Fayetteville are working on it too. We get a map.
We're here at a beautiful church right now, but in the newspaper there's some photos of the 30th annual Wendish Fest that was over at the church in Serban, a really great festival. If you've never gotten a chance to go out there to Serban, it's a wonderful celebration of the Wendish culture out there. Yeah. And speaking of history, a neat little feature on the Fair Pavilion Dance Hall over at the fairgrounds. They're trying to get more dances going over there. It used to be a real hub of musical acts and dancing.
It was interesting. I found out why they call it the Roundup Hall sometimes.
Yeah, and you can get a copy of today's paper and find that out for yourself. But let's turn our attention from the news to this beautiful church behind us. Reverend Stafford, tell us a little bit about the exterior of this wonderful painted church here in Dubina.
Well, I'm familiar with Judge Janechka. I know him personally, and I know that he has a lot to do with the maintenance and the upkeep of the church. And I was here one day on a tour from the chamber, and he was here inside doing some maintenance work.
Wow.
And I know it's a part of his, I guess, conscience to be a part of this church, too. But
he really treasures this church. Yeah, he grew up here and has been instrumental in restoring it, and lives just down the road, I think, on the other side of the Piano Bridge here. Just a beautiful area we're in. There's some ancient oaks on the other side of the church here on the grounds.
That's what Dubina means, doesn't it? Oak?
Yeah, Dubina. The word dub means oak, and Dubina is oak grove.
Oak Grove,
Oak
okay.
Grove, yes.
Learned something new.
Let's go inside.
Yeah, let's stroll inside. And here on the plaque, built in 1911. So this church has been around for, let's do that math real quick, Pancho.
I'd say that would be 107 years.
That's right. That's right.
But something happened in 1909. The church was completely destroyed by a tropical storm.
Oh, really?
And they had to rebuild it. That's why it's 1911. It took them a couple more years
Wow.
to build it.
Wow.
Along with not just this church, but Almondsville. As far as Almondsville, it wasn't a named hurricane. It was a tropical storm that
just
completely destroyed it.
Really?
And there's a iron cross on the top of the church. I think you might have gotten that picture. It was made by a freed slave named Tom Lee.
Really?
He was a blacksmith, and that was one of the few items that they were able to salvage was the cross on top of the church, and the chandelier as we entered the church, and a few of the nativity scenes.
Oh, really?
And everything else was completely
Wow.
destroyed
That was quite a storm.
in 1909.
That looks like an old store over there.
Yeah, this was a complete community at one time when they began. Some of the family, the Petters family, and they had cotton gin, a mill, a blacksmith shop, a general store, and they had 3 schools here also. They had a parochial school, a Catholic school, and a school for the Negro.
Wow.
And they closed in 1959. But I can remember being a student in Schulenburg that some of the children from here continued their education in Schulenburg.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
inside.
stroll inside.
Okay.
It's beautiful
Okay.
outside, but even more beautiful inside. As we walk in here, just this amazing kind of stenciling on the wall, stenciling painting.
Yes, everything that was here is kind of. I've had a few tours here with some of the people that might be from the Czech culture, and it's just heartwarming for them to walk in and they get chills. I've had a mother and a daughter just embrace each other once they enter to the door. We were talking about the name Dubina. You might notice on the ends of the pew here is a symbol of an oak leaf.
Oh, really?
It's a half of an oak leaf, and if you put them together to make a complete oak leaf, and that's where that name Dubina came from. And it was first they had named it Moravia. They had another Moravia in this area, and they had to change their name. I think it was a gentleman named Augustine Hadisek. He was a part of this community, and he was the county judge at one time, and realized they had to change the name because there was another Moravia in this area. And that's how they came up with the name, because of the cluster of oak trees. They named it Dubina.
A lot of these immigrants came from Moravia, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
That whole part of Europe.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the altars that you see there came from Europe.
Really?
Czechoslovakia. It was back during 1873 when the railroad came together that they were able to ship freight from the New York harbor to the Galveston Bay, and then they were able to bring it out to this far west on the railroad. I think the Piano Bridge also came by rail in 1875. 1885, I'm sorry, they constructed the Piano Bridge also. So a lot of the freight that you see here came from Europe. Even the Stations of the Cross, the 14 Stations of the Cross, they were shipped also.
They're in bas relief. They stick out. They're three-dimensional.
Yes.
And is that, I guess, Czech wording on all those stations?
It's written in Czech. Sure is.
And one of the real signature parts of this church is all those stars on the ceiling. Is there any kind of history that goes with that, or why those were painted there?
Yeah, it's under my understanding that when they were celebrating their 75th year of organization, they wanted to clean up the church somewhat, and without realizing, some of the parishioners decided they were going to clean it up, and they went and whitewashed the whole church.
Really?
And
Oh my gosh.
without realizing the significance of the painting. But getting back to Judge Janechka again, he noticed that there was something different about the church, and he led the restoration, and that's when the stars came in.
In Roundtop, we call that an improvement that's not an improvement.
And now, Reverend Stafford, you had mentioned when we were outside some of the parts of the church that were original to the building before it was destroyed. Where are those? You mentioned a chandelier.
Yeah, the chandelier as we entered.
Oh, okay. Oh, we
Right
walked
at the
here.
entrance,
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
okay.
That was one that was spared, and a couple of the pews, original pews, they're upstairs. We'll probably, if we get a chance to walk upstairs, they're there. There was two of them that was saved, and some of the nativities scenes that they celebrated Christmas, they were salvaged also.
Can we go up there and look at them?
Yes, we'll probably allow you to take us. Ordinarily, we don't.
That's not a regular part of the tour.
Yeah, but I'm sure we can go. I haven't been up there myself, so we can.
Yeah, let's go stroll up there. It's a special behind-the-scenes treat you get to see as part of this video. And Reverend Stafford, you give tours here about once a week or so?
Yes, on average, probably once a week. And this is our season that we're not so busy because of the temperature of the weather. But during the wildflower season, it is probably the peak of our activity. For liability reasons, they ask us not to, on a regular basis, go up here. This is all of the churches have this balcony area.
Wow.
And I'm sure these are some of the pews that were that they were able to save from the original church. And that was in 1877 when it was built. 1890 they expanded the church to serve over 600 families at one time.
Wow.
This church did.
Any idea how many families still attend Mass here?
I would imagine they average about 50 or more. You know, at least 50 families. One of the parishioners just left a few minutes ago. They come by on a regular basis. But these,
You can tell the difference here that these full dovetail mortising on these boards.
yes, they're a little bit original, aren't they?
I'll take your word for that, Pancho. Dovetail mortising. That's a new term for me. It's just amazing being close to all these stars. It's just remarkable being up here.
Are they gold like some of the other churches have 24
The
karat?
24 karat gold, yes.
Oh, really?
They are. It's over, the art conservator mentioned is at least 3,000 or more of the stars.
Wow. 3,000
Wow.
more.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And they happen to represent, each point represent one of the attributes of God. It's not just a Star of David as we know it, but it's a special star that represent the 6 attributes of God.
Okay.
And which is love and majesty and justice and wisdom, mercy, and power.
Wow.
Those 6 attributes they represent.
Let's see, can we go up to the bell tower?
You may.
I think that is probably strictly off limits. But still, the ropes there, I guess. Do they ring the bells during Mass? Manually
Yes, they
still
do.
here?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they have an organ up here.
Some of the churches kind of have automated ring, but they still ring the old-fashioned way.
That's nice.
And how long ago was this repainted?
It was in 1983.
83. Okay.
1983. In 1952, they were celebrating their 75 years of existence, and then it took them until 1983 to completely restore it under the supervision of an art conservator. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And Dubina, every July, first Sunday in July, they have the big picnic feast out here,
Yes.
which is just an amazing event. We try to come annually, and thousands, I would imagine, of people are congregating here on the picnic grounds, and a wonderful fried chicken meal, and a
Yeah.
bunch of kids' games and things like that.
I've heard between 4,000 and 5,000.
Between 4,000 and 5,000.
Of food.
I believe it. It's just a massive crowd here, and just such a beautiful setting. We're here in Dubina, the far corner of Fayette County. We're right on the edge of almost into Colorado County, I think. But a truly beautiful corner of Fayette County, and yeah, I think that we'll kind of wrap this up. But thank you so much, Reverend Stafford. It's been our pleasure being here at one of the beautiful painted churches of Fayette County, Sts Cyril and Methodius Catholic Church here in Dubina. And like I said, this is the second of what will be a complete tour of all the Fayette County painted churches. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for reading the paper, and especially thank you to Reverend Stafford for this wonderful tour today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I've had the experience that this church at Dubina is one of the most spiritual, and most of the people that after they finish the other 4 churches, they kind of choose this one as the one that's special in their hearts.
Wow. I can understand why, for sure.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.